This gentleman needs little introduction. Motor racing icon Mario Andretti with us. Mario, how are you?
Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
You know, your story is pretty much Hollywood material, and I figured that no better time to ask you some questions about what's going on with the world when you consider how far you've come in the world of racing. So, you know, your father comes here to Nazareth, Pennsylvania with $125 in his pocket. You guys coming from a refugee camp, and then you settle here in America, and you go on to become, in my book, the greatest race car driver of all time. So at that time, how did you handle uncertainty, and what would be the word of advice that you would give people now in terms of trying to handle the uncertainty of the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, first of all, one thing that I always had in mind, or at least I brought with me, was almost what would be the impossible dream, but I never had a plan B, as I said. So we were able to manage through the ripples on the road and all of that, and and pursue it. Begin 4 years after we arrived here in this country, 1955 and 59. My twin brother Aldo and I, we just built a car and we started racing locally, and then never looked back. And so, again, there are certain hardships, obviously, that we had to deal with throughout because of we were basically victims of the war, World War II, and our area of Italy was ceded to Yugoslavia, and we became refugees in our own country. But again, I don't know if you can parallel it with the coronavirus pandemic, but these are things that are life-changing to some degree. I think I hope it's not as life-changing as as a lot of people say. We want to get back to normal as soon as possible. It couldn't happen soon enough, in fact. But the bottom line is, I think we've got to say we have turned the corner. We've got to say that and have that attitude. Obviously there's going to be protocol going on, which obviously we should all observe for our best interests, and the health of everyone. But at the same time, we got to get back to work.
I know that you took to social media to give Kevin Harvick some love after his win in the NASCAR race. And I know for me, sitting at home watching that, it felt so great to hear the roar of the engines. I wanted to get your perspective on what it felt like to hear that again.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's finally we were watching the real thing. Up to then it was basically virtual TV. With this iRacing that we've been enjoying, obviously, but nothing like the real thing. And again, too bad that we didn't see the grandstands full, especially at Darlington. But it was a great race, and you could see that everybody just they were full of energy to get back to work.
You're still the only man to win the Indy 500, the Daytona 500, and the F1 World Championship. Your name, Mario, is synonymous with speed. And as a wordsmith myself, I wanted to steal a line from Hemingway. They asked him once about writing, and he said, there's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at the typewriter and bleed. As someone that's a race car driver, I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that sit at home and think to themselves, hey, I can drive fast. I've done it on the highway. I wanted to get your thoughts because I know that first book that you wrote, the classic line there, to steal another line. What's it like out there? What's it like to be a race car driver?
Well, again, for me, it's been a lifetime dream to be able to pursue this, and again, it gave me all the satisfactions that I could have possibly have received from a profession. A lot of people, it's such a non-participant sport, to answer your question, that a lot of people have a way of discounting the physical side of it and so forth. These are our race drivers, they're not athletes per se. But I think all you have to do is go to a local go-kart, facility and do a 10-lap run there. I mean, not just run, I mean, get on with it. And you'll see that even doing that, you'll be huffing and puffing. So the bottom line is overall, at the end of every race, you pretty much spent. It's something that you prepare for it, and you better be in good shape and to be able to perform properly, perform 10 tenths. If you know that you're giving some performance up because of your physical condition, if you're not ready to give 100% on the last lap as you did the first, you're the only one that knows. You got to look at yourself in the mirror the next day.
Sticking with quotes, you once wrote, I saw this on a pretty cool piece of memorabilia you had inscribed to someone. You said, prepare yourself in every way by increasing your knowledge and adding to your experience so that you can make the most of the opportunity when it occurs. Does that sum up Mario Andretti?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's all about preparation, all about putting in the bank, the most experience, everything that you learn every single day, every race, and you keep an open mind. Obviously, that if you don't feel you're learning every day or every race, there's something wrong with you. But like I said, it's all about preparation, and the better you're prepared, the more relaxed you feel. It's all about confidence, and that's when you perform the best.
And if everything seems under control, you're probably not going fast enough, right?
You got it. That's qualifying. Obviously, the author of the book that it was in asked me, he says, describe to me qualifying. And that's what came to mind. I says, if everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. And you have to be at the limit. Like I said, in any competitive sport, if you're leaving anything on the table, you're not gonna get the trophy.
Mario, you're the last American to win the F1 World Championship. Do you think that we will ever see another American win it again?
I hope so. I really do. I think I would love to see an American sooner than later being with one of the top teams. It has to be at least with one of the top three teams in Formula One. Otherwise, you have no chance of winning. But I think the U.S. is very important to Formula One. There's a couple of kids. There's one in particular in IndyCar, Colton Herta, who has done a lot of racing in Europe, like since age 15. And his sights are, to get into Formula One someday. And, his dad is a wonderful guy, ex-race driver and a great coach, Brian, again, if I would love to see somebody like that get a proper test in a Ferrari, a Mercedes, or a Red Bull and be evaluated that way. But I think it would do wonders for Formula One, for a fan base in here in the United States.
We actually had Colton on the show one-on-one recently, and he spoke with us about the comments that you made about him in the Rob Report and him being the next one, the next you. What made you pick him? Was he the one right at the top of your mind when they asked you that question?
Throughout his young career coming through, he was always a winner. And then you figure, okay, let's see when he gets to the top level. So he gets to the top level, and did he ever perform? I mean, immediately in his first season, he wins 2 races, and not on strategy, on speed. There's a big difference about that. And I mean, especially the last race in Laguna Seca, where he had to fend off 2 of the very best in IndyCar right now. And that's Will Power and Scott Dixon. And he never put a wheel wrong. I was so impressed with that. And, anybody that doesn't pay attention to that, obviously they don't understand. But that's the guy. And obviously we know quite well. I remember when he was just a little kid alongside with his dad, come to the race. I used to call him Spiky, because of the way he used to have his hair, and a mohawk. I love to see that mainly because he wants it. That's the difference.
That's part 1 of our interview with driver of the century, Mario Andretti. Tune in next time. We'll talk a legend of the silver screen turned racer, all that and much more with the legend himself.